What's going on? Welcome back, and good Lord, this is the fourth, fifth, sixth time I'm attempting to do one of these videos, and good Lord, why is somebody like me in central Pennsylvania wearing Falcons gear? Because I've always been a Falcons fan since the 90s, and I could be a hardcore Penguins fan. I do have support for the Steelers in this area, but why in the world is somebody like me wearing a Falcons gear? Yeah, I've been picked on this since the 90s, and whether or not I got, people always wanted to ask me, well, how did I become a Falcons fan and all that? And it kind of is real simple. They were really not really noticeable until Deion Sanders got into the field and was running kicks and punts back, and they had the red uniforms back then. But then you turn around the next year and they had those black helmets with the black jerseys and the silver pants, and they started playing in the Georgia Dome. And once I saw them, I was hooked. That was, I think, might have been the most gorgeous uniform in the entire NFL. No matter how bad they were, regardless of how bad they were, occasionally they were dirty. They were gorgeous. I just fell in love with that helmet. I fell in love with the uniform. I had that jersey at one point. I no longer do, but I've been kind of pretty much faithful with the team. I mean, I'm diehard. I know they're probably not going to win a Super Bowl, and who knows, in my lifetime. Tom Brady already ruined that. So I guess this little clip is just to be like, how did Jimmy Jam, how did me become a Falcons fan? And I live here in central Pennsylvania, and that's pretty much it. When you're growing up, you watch a lot of football. I'm still a Steeler fan because I still support them. Being a diehard Penguins fan, I show support, and always will. Nothing wrong with that. But it's almost kind of like a realist thing. I was there when I was around, and I was still a fan even when the Falcons went and beat Minnesota in that NFC title game when Morton Anderson kicked that 50-some yard field goal. I didn't think we were going to beat that team in the Metrodome. And I still remember to this day, I was working in, where was I working at the time? I was still in Weiss, I think. I think I was in Weiss. And I do remember vaguely, I was in Weiss, and the coworkers I was with, a bunch of college kids, God love them, I can't remember their names anymore. We all went to Beaver Hall, or was it Beaver Hall or Beaver Hill Apartments? And I ended up watching the game over there, and I'm just sitting there with my Falcons hat on, being like, shaking my head. It's like shaking my head. Just John Elway was just literally picking the Atlanta Falcons apart that day. I mean, there was no chance you were beating John Elway that day. I still remember that. Still remember hanging out in that apartment. A lot of weird things that happened there, and I still remember that day. And I'm also never going to forget. People will laugh at me just because they know that I was sitting in my old co-manager / manager's basement, standing in one spot, watching Atlanta Falcons go up 28-3, and then watching that lead disintegrate by Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. And still, conspiracy theory. Do you think they gave them? You literally think the official gave them the coin toss in overtime? Probably not. Tom Brady, all he did was drive 12 plays down their throats, and then just hand the ball off to James White, and they win. And go figure, Tom Brady is in the midst of everything. First Super Bowl to ever go to overtime, he wins. Biggest comeback in Super Bowl history, he wins. Tom Brady gets 6 Super Bowls and he ties everybody. He ties the Steelers. Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl in a pandemic in Tampa. Tom Brady. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in the first Super Bowl that the home team's actually playing it. During the pandemic, Super Bowl was supposed to be held in Tampa. Tampa goes to the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's their quarterback. And Gisele's on the sideline at the end of the game going, and I quote, "What else do you have to prove?" Now they're divorced. So I still have my hatred for that man, but he's now retired, and he's trying to find 5,000 other things to do with his life. He's got stake in a English Premier First Division soccer team. He's in the owner's stake. He's a shareholder for the Raiders. And there were rumors he was with Kim Kardashian. I'm not gonna buy it. It's kind of funny in a way, but at the end of the day, I will never forgive that man. Now then, after all that, the Falcons since then have gone through so many different things. They've gone through the state of Dion gone. They've gone through the state of never having a franchise quarterback. Then they get Michael Vick. Michael Vick becomes the Superman of the entire league. The Nike shoes, I still own a pair of his shoes to this day. Had his jersey, had everything. Then the dogfighting stuff happened. He gets sent to jail. He gets released. He goes and he comes back into the league because I kind of believe too this is an area and this is a country where this is the land of second chances. He did his time. He knew what he did. He did his time. The Philadelphia Eagles took him under, and the Eagles went off with him. There's even the time where the Steelers picked him up for a year and a half or two. Find out how long he was on the Steelers. Find it, put it in the comments. We had to deal with the Joey Harrington days. Joey Piano Man Harrington from Oregon. That was a trip. Now, here we are after the whole entire 10 plus years with Matt Ryan winning an MVP. We get to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was the biggest thing. I still have a conference championship hat and t-shirt in my closet. They have not been worn yet, and I will never wear them. That pretty much is now official collector item for me. So now after Matt Ryan is gone, who else do you got? We now are we had to run on Marcus Mariota for a year. He gets hurt. We draft Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. So now this season coming up is pretty much the thing that this is it. With a huge quarterback class coming up next year, Desmond Ridder now has to be the guy. You got Taylor Heineke backing him up, which is actually not a bad thing. Personally, it's a stupid idea, but I would not mind grabbing Carson Wentz as a third string just to have somebody else, just to have another little piece of insurance. I'd rather Carson Wentz than Colin Kaepernick, but that's a whole different story. But Heineke, not bad. He's doing pretty well in the preseason right now. So what's my thing now? What's my take now with the Atlanta Falcons? What do you think they're going to do this year? Let me knock this down for you a little bit, and I'll try to burn through this as much as I can. They're in the worst division in the entire league. Tampa's in a restructure. They're going to be awful. Carolina's in a restructure. And a new quarterback, new head coach. See how they do with Bryce Young. They've redone their offense as well. New Orleans is the kicker to this because they're now healthy. They're getting some of their players back. They won't get Alvin Kamara back for a couple days. And now they got Derek Carr. Do you hold them to the point where there's a lot of people and critics and others that are already putting their name up saying New Orleans will win this division? And it's very possibly they will. This whole season now, knowing that Arthur Smith, the head coach, is now pretty much realizing we're going to run the football. We were the 5th best running team in the league last year. And our running backs, Cordell Patterson, Taylor Algier. We even had a kid from Ball State named Taylor Huntley, I think. I have to go back and find that name again. He did well when Patterson was out for a month. Now we draft Bijan Robinson from Texas, and everybody is going gaga with him. And I'm praying that's it, because if that happens, Patterson's going to be running kicks and he'll be doing the slot. We go out and we get some pieces on offense. Drake London is there. We go get Matt Collins from the Raiders. We get a couple other pieces. Kyler Pitts is healthy. We get another tight end from the Patriots. He's going to help him along the way. Our offense is not going to be bad. Our defense pretty much is the other big question. So the two major things that are going to happen with the Falcons, and it all relies on two things. It's going to be the quarterback and it's going to be the defense, because Atlanta had the second most cap space in the entire league this season, and they spent it near all of it on their defense, getting a lot of pieces and a lot on that front seven. We'll see how that works, because if everybody knows, if every sports person knows, Falcons never had a good defense. Even when Dan Quinn was the coach, they never had a good defense. They're never known for their defense. Defense looks good on paper. They got a bunch of pieces. They picked the safety up from Cincinnati. They get Calais Campbell from the Raiders. They got some pieces, people. It's not bad. But when I burn through the schedule, I wish I had the other thing up. I really wish I could put it up, but I'm on scraps as I'm starting this whole channel thing. Here's my thing on it. They'll host Carolina and Green Bay to start the thing off. I think that's 2 wins right there. I think they'll split the season series with Carolina, because I know how that rivalry is. They'll host Green Bay. They're against they're hosting Green Bay, and Jordan Love. That's a win. I'm now iffy on Detroit. We got to go to Detroit. There are a lot of hopes on Detroit. I'll take an L on that. Then we got to host Jacksonville, and that game's in London, and a lot of people love Jacksonville. I'll take an L on that one. Then we host Houston. That's a win. Host Washington. That's another thing I'll talk about down the road. Host Washington. I think that's a win. Tampa. That's a win. At Tampa. That's a win. At Tennessee. I think that's a win. Nobody knows what the quarterback's going to be. Versus Minnesota. It's going to be a duel with Kirk Cousins. That defense is not picked up very well, so it might not be in a shootout. I'm going to go a win against Minnesota. Then at Arizona, which I think is going to be the worst team in the league. We don't get our bye till week 11, so our bye is going to be very late. And then we go to New Orleans. I'll take an L on that, because who knows what's going to happen. Is that game at home? Yeah, that's at home. I'll go L on that. And then we go to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. That's almost a pick 'em facing Aaron Rodgers. I very well may take a W on that. We go to Tampa, we'll win that. Carolina, I said we'd split. And then who knows how Indianapolis is going to be in Anthony Richardson. We'll go to Chicago and Justin Fields. I think that might be a pick 'em. I went through this a handful of times. I'm almost thinking 9-8, 10-7. I could be very, very lucky and very, very gullible and say 11-6. But who knows what's going to happen in the last. You don't know who you're going to face, who you don't know what type of team you're going to get later on down that year. But it now all relies on Desmond Ridder. He's got to be the guy. If he's not the guy this season, there's a handful of quarterbacks in that draft coming up. And I mean, there's a lot of them. But it all relies on Desmond Ridder. Are you the guy? You now have probably one of the best potent running back lineups in the NFL. And I think Arthur Smith is going to make them run the football, and Desmond Ridder is going to be somewhat of a game manager. I'm looking at this schedule, and I could be so gullible and say 11-6. I'd love to say 11-6, but you could win a playoff. You could get in the playoffs with 10-7. In the NFC, it's very possible. You could get a wild card, maybe even the 6th or 7th wild card, because there's a lot of critics that say New Orleans will win that division, and that's it. That's all that's coming out of the NFC South. So with that said, I will take my smoke, whatever, and just think to myself, 11-7, no, 11-7, 11-6 would be nice. Reality might be another 500 season, 8-9, 9-8. This is Desmond Ridder's first year as the quarterback. And if they go 9-8 and just miss the playoffs, I will take that. But now you've got people that are healthy. They lost an offensive lineman already in the preseason. But This is Desmond Ritter's time to shine. Everybody else has highlights. Everybody is pretty much high end, ready to go, big name. And Desmond Ritter, you were great in college. You had 4 or 5 games when Mariota got hurt. You even beat Tom Brady in a game. And I know that game really didn't count because Tom Brady only played like 2 series. But you've done well. You want the leadership job. You're showing that in the offseason. You're showing that in training camp. And you're showing that now. So by God, them dirty birds, give them hell in the ATL. Talk to you later.